So, hi, Matt Stait again from the Festival of Martial Arts. Today I've got with me Joe Andrews. Hi, Joe, how are you?
Hey, how you doing? All right?
I'm good, my friend. Thanks for joining us today. Now, again, as I say on these videos, the first thing that we do is have a little introduction because essentially what we're trying to do is to introduce the instructors to the people that are going to be coming along so that they can have a look and see who's doing what kind of things are on offer, what they want to get involved with. And one of the things that we're really big on is we want to basically have a good mix of instructors with a good overview of knowledge, but some of those instructors aren't necessarily people that the vast majority have heard of yet. And so what I like to do is just give a brief overview. So if you could just give us a little bit about your history, who you are, what you do, that'd be great.
All right, great. Okay, so I started my journey of martial arts in 1998. So I must have been about 9 years old at the time. And I started in traditional Shotokan karate, where I did that for about 20 years. Got all the way up to fourth dan in traditional Shotokan. I also did some Tai Chi and some Qigong on the side of that because my teacher also taught that material. So went to a lot of retreats and learned how to meditate properly and how to connect your body together. Slightly different concept to karate. And without going into any detail of how I left, but I left. Left the club, left the association I was in. It was a traditional association. Tried to find my feet again. I didn't know what direction to go in. So a lot of I had some allies at the time that suggested, look, you want to go and join an association that is going to give you a little more freedom into what you want to teach. So it was highly recommended that I joined the British Combat Association under Jeff Thompson and Peter Considine.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a very good chat with Sensei Peter, and he said, basically, you run the show, you write the syllabus, we just deal with the admin. You go off and do what you want to do. Which for me was a very interesting path because I was originally being told what to do, how to do everything, how the kata had to be performed, what the syllabus was, what the grading format was, and the gradings were always done through the association. So this was like, no, you can do, you do everything yourself. If you want any advice, we're here. But it's your show, you go for it. So built a syllabus where I wanted the karate I was teaching to go. Very quickly became part of what I'd call the applied karate world, which is the group of people that are trying to get karate back to the way it was when it was in Okinawa, where people were training with each other and enjoying that time together before the style was formulated. And in doing so, I made a lot of new friends that were as open-minded as I was. A lot of people that did karate and something else. So, for example, my friend Les Bubka, who has a background in karate but also does wrestling, so he's able to apply those things together. People like Ian Abernethy, who obviously has a very broad understanding of martial arts. That was always the thing to do, was to go and train with people to do karate and something else, which is what we did for a few years. And then it got to a point where I was kind of convinced to become one of those people. Was say, right, you're going and training with people that do karate and something else. Now you need to become one of those people. You need to go and do something else so that when people come to train with you, the cycle keeps going. So myself and Greg Linham, who's the other instructor in our club, went off to train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which we've been doing for a year and a half or so. So we've been able to add that to our curriculum. So the ethos of my club, Somerset Applied Karate, the ethos is the smarter we get, the smarter the students get. So whereas in the traditional, in my traditional days, there was a point where you knew everything, and then you became a teacher, and then you taught it. So there was always seemed like a bit of a wall. Whereas now it's like, no, we work together. There's going to be students of mine that know something better than I do. Maybe they have a background in something. So I go, right, well, you teach me. Let's work together on this. And we could go to go to courses and learn from other people and network and exchange. It's a much, I must say, it's a very nice world to be in.
Yeah.
To
Yes.
sort of admit that, karate's great, but karate doesn't have all the answers. So go and find the answers. Go and train with people that can add strings to your bow. Yeah, it's a very nice world to be in.
Yeah. So you mentioned the word applied there. I'll come back to that now in a moment. Now, I mean, first and foremost, for me, I come from a traditional background myself, and I'm a huge advocate of building strong foundations, which I think are quite often lacking these days in this kind of pick and mix approach to the way things are done. So, I certainly wouldn't disparage or say anything bad about those foundational arts, because they're the structures that everything is sort of built on, and they're standing on the shoulders of giants kind of thing. But I also agree with your point there that if we don't evolve, we stagnate and die. It's that simple. And so there we can't do exactly the same things that people did hundreds of years ago, because we don't live in that way. We don't we don't communicate in that way. We do things differently now. So the term applied, you mentioned that a few times. Most people obviously know what the word means, but what does it mean in the context of your version of karate?
Okay, so it might be wise to actually clear up that we still do traditional aspects, like we still wear a gi, we still have the belt system, we do kata. But the way we make it applied is so some clubs call it applied, some call it practical, some call it pragmatic. It's basically taking karate and doing a lot more pad work, a lot more partner work. So this was the huge difference I noticed between the traditional and the applied world, was that it's karate do and karate jitsu, right? Now there was a debate online not long ago about what are the pros and cons of it, and I commented and said there are definitely perks for both. There are tremendous benefits from karate do, but there are tremendous benefits from karate jitsu, so do both. So that's the way that we see it, is that the kind of karate I used to do was more like karate do. It was about self-improvement, self-development, and building self-esteem and strengthening the body. We just didn't do a lot of we didn't use the techniques we were learning and using it combatively enough. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to say, yeah, okay, we're learning how to punch and kick, but let's actually apply it to focus mitts, to kick shields, and then we'll practice on our partners. We spar more as well. We do a lot of free sparring, focus sparring. But no, we've not thrown away the tradition. We're trying to move it on.
Yeah, no, totally. Again, yeah, I get that, I understand that, and it makes perfect sense. And again, one of the reasons why it makes perfect sense is because you've had some similar sort of experiences through your working life as I have, in regards to, we both went off and started working on the doors. We both got involved in security, and we both, if you like, established where we as individuals could actually make use of what we'd learned to that point, and what we had to amend, what we had to change, what we had to throw away, what we had to bring in. And that's I say individually because it is different for everybody, and everybody's take on that is different. And that's again something that I find fascinating when I talk to people who now teach. Every single person that I know that has worked within security, they have incorporated into their teachings aspects of that weren't there before. So again, so the question for me on that is, how does that look and work for you when you're passing on information to your students?
That's an interesting question, because when this is what tends to pop up when I talk about subjects like self-defense, is that that's a big subject at the moment, where people say you can't teach it if you don't know anything about it. Now that's true. I don't claim to be a self-defense expert, but I do have experience of what it's like to be in the field, if you call it, being out there on a Saturday night with people that have had too much to drink, their confidence has gone up and their inhibitions have lowered and their common sense is lowered. So you do get to see what people are like when they're when they're pushed to the limit. What did I learn from doing the doors? I learned that there was a lot of, again, I'm not disrespecting traditional karate. I'm talking about the club that I was in and what we did. We didn't do a lot that helped me as a doorman. So there wasn't a lot of material that I learned doing traditional karate up to that point that helped me as a doorman, which maybe it was a mistake on my behalf. Maybe I was naive to think that it would, but I had to basically learn the hard way of how to be a doorman. Now, if I had done jiu-jitsu then and then did the doors, I would have been a far better doorman. And the guys I worked with, a lot of them did jiu-jitsu and they were damn good on the doors. So it didn't make me useless. It just meant I had to kind of learn the hard way how to deal with people that were being aggressive. But it's not always about dealing with people that are aggressive, because I was always taught a bad doorman looks for fights, a good doorman looks for arguments. So this is what, and so this is why I put these skills in, is that if I saw something that was maybe going to kick off, I'd go over and try and calm it down. And that's where you start integrating. There's a lot of people skills that come with being a doorman, which actually I argue are transferable skills into self-defense, or if we call it violence prevention. So violence prevention and violence management. So one of my things I used to do is I used to drop myself down to their level. I used to take them out the front and go, look, mate, you spent a lot of money to get in here. Look, you know, they've got some good tunes on, you know, they've got a couple of good deals behind the bar. Look, you don't want me to throw you out. I'm not getting paid enough to do this. So do us all a favor, wind your neck in, go and have a good night. And more often than not, they'd go, oh, cool. All right, yeah, cheers. And then they go off. Yeah. That seemed to be something that really worked for me. There's a surprising amount of people skills that comes with the job.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. Again, it's one of those things where for the vast majority of the time, it's got nothing to do with the physical aspects of it. It's everything to do with, as you say, people management, people skills. So when we look now to the festival itself, great, you guys are going to be on board, which is fantastic. So do you have a rough idea in mind of what you're going to be teaching when you're there?
Okay, so I've got a couple ideas in mind. So when I've been invited to seminars before to teach material, what material I teach that seems to become most popular is the stuff where I try to take a principle and turn it into a fun exercise. So we got a YouTube channel where we do stuff in a class. I record it, squeeze it together, and chuck on YouTube. And the stuff that tends to get the most attention is where I take a principle that maybe people are struggling with, and I just turn it into a game, and we just make a fun exercise out of it. Why do I do that? Because people learn better through fun. Yeah, it's more engaging. I like it when it's an underlying principle. If it's the principle, then people are sort of like they hone themselves in and they focus on it, and it becomes hard work. Whereas if we make fun of it, and they go, right, well, what was the principle within that exercise? And that seems to be, those are the videos that I put on there that seem to be the most engaging. So for example, I taught a session at the Bunkai Bash that was organized by Andy Kidd. And he asked me to do a session. So I thought, I know what we'll do. I'll do a doorman style session where half of you will be hunters kicking off and half of you will be doorman. And I said, there's a line of cones here. All you got to do is get them over that line. That is all you got to do. You don't no punching, kicking. That's all you got to do. You got to get them over there. And I put some music on as well, just to make it a little more realistic. And they loved it. They absolutely loved it. And I got quite a lot of praise and credit for doing it, which is really nice, because that's what I wanted. I wanted people to enjoy it. And you know, the guys over this end, they were having a laugh. They were sort of dancing to the music. Like they got into character and go, I'm not going anywhere. And the other guys were going, come on, mate, let's go. So really, but the principle was, how do you move somebody away from where they are without using strikes, you know, or without dumping them into the ground? Like, so people had to really kind of switch on a bit. Yeah. And I find that's far more rewarding, because something I tell my students all the time, that you might never go to a competition in your life, you might never have to, heaven forbid, you might never have to use martial arts to defend yourself, but if you had fun, then I'm happy.
Oh, absolutely. It's a win-win, isn't it? Yeah, no, totally agree with you. Again, it's one of those where that takes us back to that sort of innovation concept. An aspect of the training is that, if we just do the same thing relentlessly for 10 years, it's no wonder nobody wants to pay attention and learn. So we've got to change it. We've got to adapt it. So that's great. The fact that, again, that tallies in with the festival's ethos itself, which is, we want to share knowledge, we want to have a great time, and we want to do it where it's fun, it's exciting, and we're all learning some great stuff all at the same time. So that fits right in perfectly. So the last thing then for us today really is just to let people know how they can reach out if they want to contact you, if they want to speak to you. Where can they find you?
We are everywhere. We're on. So Somerset Applied Karate is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and we got the Somerset Applied Karate YouTube channel, which I update regularly with candid footage of what we do in classes. And I'm contactable at any time if anybody wants to chat, anyone wants we want to pick each other's brains. Yeah, I like chatting to people, like exchanging ideas.
Fantastic. So I'll put the link to that down in the comments. And
thank you.
So it's been fantastic chatting, and we really look forward to seeing you on the day, my friend.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.